Namaste, everyone. I'm going to give you Kundalini Yoga to inspire your light language. So, for today's class, you are going to need a journal. So, I have my unicorn journal. So, you're going to need paper, right? And you're going to need a pen. Right? You can use your special magic pen, and we are going to do light language. Okay, so for those of you who do not know what light language is, basically, right, we work with the Kundalini energy, right, the raising of the Kundalini energy, which is basically about connecting to the chakra system, right, connecting to your artistry, your renaissance as a human being, right, which is your ecstatic, exalted energy state. Right? So when we're in that ecstatic, exalted energy state, we're talking, the chakra systems are just vibrant, they're open, they're spinning, and we're feeling very embodied in this human experience, right? In its ebbs and flows, right? We have an ability to creatively maneuver ourselves through the human experience. Okay, so light language is a tool for connecting to your soul star, right? Your soul star, we work with the Merkaba, right? So the Merkaba is a sort of gateway to the soul star, right? So the soul star is also known as like the 10th gate, right? The 10th gate is above the crown chakra, right? And it's known as your white sun that's above your head, right? The white sun. And it is basically a portal that we travel through when we're dreaming, meditating. When we're in a deep, relaxed state, we can visualize, right? In that sort of hypnotic state where we're really, woo, that kind of thing, and through pranayam. We can go to the 10th gate, also is the Asachik record, right? It's connected to the arc line, the golden arc line, right? The 10th gate is up here. The arc line is here, and this sort of arcing around the head, which we're going to do meditation for opening the arc line in the 10th gate. And we can use that to connect to the spiritual realm, higher dimensions, right? So we come in and out. When we are born, we travel through the 10th gate of the mother, right? Because every individual, man and woman, has the 10th gate, right? And we travel through the mother's 10th gate, right? Her portal into her nervous system to connect to the umbilical cord, to basically latch on to the fetus when our soul is coming into the physical body, right, of the mother, right, on the 120th day, right, when that soul comes in. And then when we die, we talk about your last breath, right, your inhale, exhale, right? The last breath, the last exhale is when your soul body and your subtle body, they emerge together, right? Right? We call it in your innocence, your kindredness, right? Merge together, and they leave through the 10th gate, right? To go to a more liberated plane of existence, right? So that 10th gate is basically a portal that you can use to basically potentiate you further, right? So Nikola Tesla's visions are basically light language. Da Vinci's sort of visualization that he had with the universe, his sort of inventions, very similar to Nikola Tesla, where he would just drop them down on his notebook. It could even be through poems, it could be through little diagrams, it could be through sketches, it could be through like mathematical sort of equations. And all of that is like a light language, right? When you connect to that 10th gate, when you connect to that Akashic record, you're able to potentiate into the universe, right? And, when we meditate, we're connecting to higher energy that's healing, that's creative, that's fulfilling, right? And through that, we're able to, kind of potentiate further, and we can connect like the sort of law of singularity. You can cross through a sun, it has black hole matter that can connect you to multiple suns within this this galaxy, with the different systems within the galaxy, right? And I do believe that these beings travel through the sun, right? Or they travel through the black hole matter, is what I call, to cross through dimensions and cross through galaxies and systems, right? The speed of light is this, the speed of the sun. The speed of the light is the speed of the sun, the speed of consciousness, right? Because the sun has a mass amount of energy. And if you're going to transport, let's say, a large spaceship, right, from one system to the next system, and they're not necessarily close to each other, you're going to have to need a lot of energy. Just getting a rocket off of this planet Earth requires a lot of energy, a lot of fuel, right? And that's why we are not necessarily traveling beyond our system, even really beyond Mars, is because we don't have that energy, right? So that's why, we've had to connect with the solar energy with traveling through space. But even when we get outside of the range of the sun, if we go even deeper into our system, right, we need energy, right? We need energy. And the greatest energy source, as we know, is the sun. So if you were going to travel at the speed of light and travel from one galaxy to another, or even one system to another system, it would definitely seem logical that you would travel through the sun, or you would harness the sun's energy, as we are doing on this planet with solar energy. You would harness the energy of the sun as like rocket fuel. And with a lot of energy, and you discover in Kundalini Yoga, you're actually able to shapeshift, as the ancient Egyptians understood. You're actually able to shapeshift, which seems kind of strange for us, but for a meditator, someone who's been deeply meditating 8 hours a day for 50 years of their life, understand that kind of mystic power, we call, right? So that mystic power that a yogi can develop through this type of these type of kriyas and meditations that I'm providing you, right? So the light language can connect you to your authentic star. So you have an authentic star. You originate from a particular planet. Most people don't originate from planet Earth. They had their first incarnations on other planets that are not even in this sort of region, but they've traveled to this region within the galaxy, the Milky Way, because of the evolution that they get to experience on Earth, right? So a lot of people came here during the Atlantean times, when they began their incarnations on Earth, right? A lot of souls came here during Atlantis, during the Light Age, right? They're drawn to Earth because of the light and the Renaissance and the high creativity. It just drawled in a lot of souls. So a lot of beings who actually originate from like Pleiades and Sirius and Lyra system, Draco system, the Vega star, the Veda system, the Arcturus system, going further back. And they came here during the Atlantean time, the age of light, right? Before the Egyptian time. We're not even talking about ancient Egypt. We're talking about before the ancient Egypt, that we have no real documentation of, because there was a great ice age, there was a great flood, there's been catastrophes in between these light ages that have basically sort of deconstructed any remnants of this age as the new age began, right? So it's like we started from scratch, right? Like with the Bible, right? With the Great Flood, we started over from scratch, and we've done that multiple times on this planet. So the remnants of this Atlantean age is in our DNA, right? Because the Atlanteans did say, and they became the Minoan people. They also connected to ancient Egypt. They became the Minoan people that has stories of ancient Egypt, has rituals and ceremonies that belong to ancient Egypt, even sort of basic understanding of the knowledge of ancient Egypt, because a lot of it does kind of connect to ancient Egypt with cosmology and astrology, the ability to connect to time and space, right? Sort of cosmic maps. Ancient Egypt when we think of the Sumerian people, definitely in line with the Atlanteans, that is thousands of years even before the Sumerian, which we think about, 4,000 years or so in the past, right? We think of like the cradle of life, right? Of a civilization, right? The first kind of civilization, right? But we've had another civilization that was similar to the Sumerian, Egyptian, the sort of African presence on this planet, but there was even more of advancements than we have today with space travel. That is actually was going on during the Atlantean time. Space travel, right? So when you think of SpaceX and Elon Musk, that was actually going on where we were actually exploring Mars in Atlantean time. And even when if you're into the ancient Egyptian, not ancient Egyptian, the what is it called? The space astronaut, not the space astronaut. Oh God, the theory, the ancient astronaut theory, right? In the ancient astronaut theory, there's a belief that Mars was actually, during the ancient Egyptian times, even before that with the Atlantean times, there was actually a base on Mars, right? That we don't know. We can look at Mars, but there is some remnants of that. There's some remnants of sort of buildings on Mars that a lot of people don't really spend time looking at the little Mars videos and stuff, right? But there is, right? And it's just deep buried under many, many thousands of years, right? And that's why ancient Egypt, it's just rubble, basically, right? It's just rubble, right? A lot of it is, a large portion of it is just rubble, and, very small percentages, the remnants we're able to actually connect the dots, right? So light language connects you to your authentic star, right? Your soul star, your authentic star, and you can basically channel energy from that soul star. Like, for example, a lot of light workers, light workers, earth angels, they can have a strong magnetic energy on this planet because they've been here a very long time. Like, some people we can call old souls have actually originate from planet Earth, or not originate from planet Earth, but originate from the planet, the sort of ET civilization that first introduced sort of bioorganism on planet Earth, right? So there are old souls that actually connect to the sort of pre-Earth humans, which sounds kind of weird, right? Thousands, millions of years ago, there's a pre-Earth human that came, basically isn't human, but created the genetic type of human that we have today, right, through evolution. And they're connected to the Anunnaki, the giant beings, who created this sort of work slave, kind of created sort of influenced that in some ways, right? That the ancient Egyptians sort of participated and got a little out of hand with that type of system, right? That's why we're collapsing it, because got a little out of hand. The materialism in ancient Egypt got a little bit out of hand, right? That really, took this sort of Anunnaki sort of relationship with, humans, and kind of went over the top with God and Godhead, and the priest is the Almighty and the king is the Almighty, and we must bow and lick their feet type of stuff, right? So, and there's a group even before these Anunnaki, these giant beings, that, there's a whole sort of stories about giant beings in this Minoan region, right? Where there's skeletons that are like massively large skeletons. And you've seen that in different parts of this world as well. There's these skeletons of like giant beings, these Anunnaki beings that were seen in the Middle East as winged beings. They were seen as the great judges in the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? The first sort of story, right? Before we think of like the Roman stories that, sort of created this foundation for literature, right? Within, stories of adventure, right? So, your light language is basically, you can connect to another planet, as people have done. I mean, if you look online and just click write like language on YouTube, you're gonna find, you know, very much it's an artistry, it's an art form, right? It's not so much about the actual language. It's very symbolic. When we think of like uniform, very much like light language. When we think of hieroglyphics, very much like light language. When we think of the Chinese writing, very much light language. Calligraphy, it's very much light language, is similar to calligraphy, because it's an art form. It's an art expression of light, which is, creativity, energy. Light is creativity, it's higher energy, right, of spiritual fulfillment. So it's very much like calligraphy in the way when you see a sort of calligraphy being done in this sort of different forms, like the Buddhist calligraphy, the Hindu sort of calligraphy, in that kind of art. It's actually very meditative. It's a way to connect to the story of you, the kind of narrative of you, and how expansive and you are, and your soul, and where you've been, and this sort of never-ending story of you. So we're going to focus on the soul star through the light language, and this is something you meditate on, like calligraphy. It's something that is seen to transport you to another dimension, where it's like a key to accessing another dimension, just like tankas in a ways is light language. When we think of mandalas and yantras, it's like light language in the way that it's not necessarily the colors and shapes. It's the sort of key. It creates a portal that connects your mind to a higher dimension, where in that higher dimension you can like walk around and you can interact with beings in that higher dimension, and you can ask questions, receive answer, and you can also get ideas, creative ideas. So why we put yantras, mandalas, tankas in the house, calligraphy, while people have calligraphy, even have it in their house. It's carved into stone, carved into walls, and in all kinds of different, like pottery, and in books, very delicately placed in books throughout the centuries, is because it's a way to connect, right? You'll see it written on the outside of temples, these type of light language, these sort of codes of light. You'll see, I mean, we've been doing this for a very long time, this light language, where we're basically putting it all around our house. It can even be like prayer flags, where basically there's like mantras and sort of images that basically connect to, it's like a portal, a key to a higher dimension, right? And it's very exciting light language, because it is really, the purpose of it is not necessarily learning a language. It's about practicing your intuition. It's more of an intuitive practice rather than I'm trying to learn a language, like sitting down and learning Spanish, right, or German. Like, it's not very much about that. It's not about remembering like each sort of symbol and each sort of how do you form a sentence. It's not about that, right? It's really about the channeling ability, the intuitive channeling. Because when you see people doing light language, they're just channeling, they're just being intuitive. So it's more about opening your mind and about connecting to your artistry as a soul being, than I'm trying to like remember stuff and what language is this, where does it come from, what does this mean. Because light language, when it's stellar, when it's interstellar, whatever language you speak, it probably won't even be able to convey the fullness of it. Because when you're dealing with interstellar energy, it's probably very multidimensional. In an English language, in different languages, can only convey so much, right? So, there are many languages. When we think of like the romantic, romance languages, there's a sense of being, a fuller, more dynamic sort of vocabulary and, connection with storytelling and what it means to be very expansive, right? But some languages, the conveying of this sort of interstellar experience is very limited, right? So, light language, it's almost like it's very multidimensional, and it's very much about this. It represents a symbol, it represents a code, that's something you look at, something you meditate upon, right? That it will just give you expansion beyond what you can experience with your language, or even with your written language, right? So, and the purpose of it is to connect you and this physical you to your interstellar you, which is where we're going as a planet. We're becoming interstellar. So SpaceX, Elon Musk, traveling to Mars, all of this stuff is basically just a glimpse, a little window that a lot of people don't even pay attention. It's just a little window to what is to come, because more of that's going to be happening, and we will be becoming interstellar as we were in the past. And in not too long ago in the past either. 4,000 years ago is nothing. When we think of the Sumerians and the kind of interstellar consciousness where they were dealing with trillions in their math, we don't even deal with that. And I didn't even think trillions existed until I think I became like 21, right? And you look at the debt of it's so sad. You learn trillions by the debts, right? Of countries and this type of country type of conversation that we're having when it comes to money, right? And the dealings in the sort of omega dealings we're having with on this planet, right? But a lot of this interstellar consciousness comes from Atlantis, because Atlantis, similar to ancient Egypt, there was cosmic maps. Like when we talk about singularity and traveling from one star to another star, like at the speed of light, like literally it's like you come into a star and you go out of another star. Like you go into the sun of our planet, or of our system, and then you come out of the sun and you're in a different system. That's what I'm talking about, the kind of spherical, dimensional sort of collapse and reshape that happens within a black hole, right? Of a sun, we'll say, that sort of energy, that sort of solar light energy. So, that interstellar consciousness, why we want to work with that in this practice is because a lot of individuals, they have intergalactic they have intergalactic agendas on this planet, which can be about like creativity. It can be about expanding consciousness, that that it could be your path in this incarnation. So connecting to light language can also be connecting to these ceremonies, these rituals, these sound codes that of off planet, right? Because a lot of these rituals, ceremonies, even meditations, kriyas, sound codes, they are stored off planet. They're stored within the Pleiades star. They're stored off planet within Sirius, with Arcturus star. There's sort of remnants of ancient Atlantis, even further back than that, in other planets, right? Because in this age of the darkness, a lot of that information could not be held on the frequency of this planet, right? It would be distorted, right? It's like filtering in this pure energy through a pipe that's just dirty. You're not going to get clean water, so you're not going to filter it through. You're going to sort of cycle it through a clean filter system, while humans, the dark age with the dirty pipes, right? And then when eventually you crystalline the energy, right, in this age we're going into, an age of light, then you'll start to filter in back this energy, right, from Atlantis, filter back in, because you're not going to want to filter clean water through dirty pipes, right? You're not going to get the clean water. You're going to get the whatever bacterias that are in the dirty pipes, right? So that's why we're meditating our minds, because the dirty pipes is like residue from trauma and curses and negativity and shame, judgment, feelings not being good enough, that have caused a lot of turmoil, a lot of plaque, I like to call, in, the pipe, a lot of buildup. Some people, they can't even get energy through the pipe because the pipe is clogged, right? Like a clogged artery, right? Because there's a lot of backed up stuff, build up stuff, a lot of plaque. So, our meditation is like you're beaming in this pure light energy, this radiant energy, this pure light energy, so you can really like clean that out. The light will basically, like a fire, it will burn through it, clean it out, crystalline it, right? You want to turn steel into gold. You want a gold pipeline, not steel. Steel is weapons, right? Tanks, guns, right? Gold, the golden Buddha, the golden temple. We don't associate gold with guns and weapons and tanks, right? We associate gold as the golden Buddha. So we want to, take that kind of pipe of steel, a lot of plaque, right? And we want to turn it to gold, which is a kind of shiny, kind of clear element of earth that's considered very royal. It's considered, even in an intergalactic setting with Anunnaki, gold is something that's been mined on this planet by other ETs because it's very precious. It's very precious, and when you have a good amount of it, it actually can help you travel through space, like interdimensional, other planet systems, even other galaxies, far distant regions. It actually can help you gold. So there's been a whole type of mining thing with gold on this planet, all kinds of stories about star beings using humans to mine for gold. And that's why the ancient Egyptians, there's a gold type of, all the gold's gone. I don't know who has it, right? Someone has it, but there was definitely a lot of gold type of, seeing the gold as very, very valuable. But ancient Egyptians didn't understand that gold was actually used a lot of times for space, right? And that's why the Anunnaki gold, they saw the gold probably on them and they're like, whoa, it's really about higher energy. Gold can connect you to higher energy, right? Higher energy. And that's why we have an obsession with gold rushes, and we're willing to even kill each other, genocide over gold, right? Because it's embedded in us through these Anunnaki times where we actually witness in Atlantis the power of gold. We see it as very valuable, not only because it's rare, but also because we know that gold has an interstellar quality about it. And if you are able to have it and to exchange with other interstellar beings, ET beings, and you have a lot of it, it actually can give you the trillion status, and even I don't know what's above the trillion status, right? When it comes to intergalactic exchange. Because if there is an intergalactic exchange, it would more so be for gold, right? It would be gold. ET would want gold and humans would want technology. But that's not going to happen because the ETs are not allowed to give us technology. Not at this time, right? And I feel like they did give us technology, and I think we extinct ourselves, actually. And this was before the last light age. I think this might have been the first light age. I feel like we've had 3 light age over 3-4 planetary cycles that are 26,000 years. So that's definitely, a 3-4 I'm feeling. And this could be the 5th light age that we are going in and hoping not to extinct. But we, in many ways, get technology early on. This planet sort of brings it up within us. But then us as human beings, since we have an emotional immaturity, we can't handle it. So usually the technology can be used for war, which other ETs use it for, like Star Wars, right? Right? Other ETs use the technology for control and domination and you bow down to me stuff. But I think we did that, and I think it maybe caused like extinction or caused downfall of that human light age, right? Because we were not necessarily emotionally mature to be able to handle the technology we were given. So even if we had the technology, which we do very much, I feel we do, to go and colonize Mars, terraform Mars, go to another system, meet other intelligent life forms on planet Pleiades. I feel a lot of people would not be able to emotionally handle it. Even astronauts with multiple trainings of years and years of that wouldn't necessarily be able to emotionally handle it, because you would have to develop a sort of interstellar consciousness to be able to handle. You're talking with some gray alien who is so multidimensional. They're literally channeling 7 sort of streams of thought simultaneously, and you're like, you can barely channel 2 as a human, right? So a lot of people collapse when they see like grays or aliens or whatever form. A lot of people are very intimidated, they're very overwhelmed, they panic, they're very fearful, because these ETs, they only connect through the intuitive channel, which is the light language. And they send symbols a lot of time, like symbols, sort of codes to, codes, like crop circles is a code, it's light language. Crop circle is a code, and it's a light language, and it's through geometry that we're able to decipher the mathematics of what is information is being given. So light language is a way for us to connect with that interstellar consciousness within ourselves if we choose to, and we can really build that up in that kind of practice. And it's just fun, right? If you want to take it to just the basics, right, it's just fun because you're tapping into your authentic code. It's very playful, and it makes you feel lighter, and it just makes you feel more open and relaxed and artistic, and it just makes you feel more like you're grounding more of your soul, right? And your soul is not bound to earth, right? People think just earth is the only planet, just keep reincarnating on earth, right? When the Atlantean times, like Atlanteans, with all the healers and the shamans and the gifted souls and architects and the engineers and the mediums and all of that, right? These evolutionary minds of ancient Atlantis understood that, a lot of beings, they're not from this planet, and they're not like a lot of, recent comers and goers of this planet where you just keep recycling and sort of reincarnating again, right? The Atlanteans were not so much about the reincarnating cycle, right? Because, a lot of them, their memory was intact of their off-planet lifetimes, right? So they came into this earth and they felt very fulfilled. So there's something about when you feel very fulfilled in your, what you're doing with your creative energy, with your kundalini, you tend to not necessarily just reincarnate on earth. A lot of times in this dark age, there's a lot of reincarnation because there's a lot of feeling kind of bound to the earth, right? Because of something you left behind, something you feel like a wound. It could be a trauma, it could be pain, it could be something unresolved with a loved one, with somebody you want to meet in this life because you have karma with them, so that keeps us in the reincarnating, that kind of thing, because we have to feel whole. And that's the one thing the Atlanteans taught us, human beings, is that ascension is not necessarily about just shooting up into the stars, right, like a rocket. It's really about the gathering of the energy from deep in the earth, what is below you, the descending force, the ancestors, that are in the soil, right? It's about gathering that knowledge of the ancestors, that what's below you, right? Healing that what's below you, working through, where you come from, right? And there's usually a past, right? Your ancestors have a past that you can heal and work through and gather up the sort of healing energy of that, and also bring down the healing energy from what is above you, right, into the heart. So it's really about the fulfillment, and from the Lantian perspective is about the fulfillment of you, right? It's the fulfillment, and the fulfillment in all the, if we're looking at the Taoists, if we're looking at the Buddhists, if we're looking at the fulfillment from all kinds of different philosophies, the fulfillment is really playful. It's really kindred. It's not something so like very hard, and we think it's so hard and it's so difficult. Your destiny requires gut, but your fulfillment is just simple contentment. Your destiny will require gut, because if your destiny, like Lao Tzu, is to be a poet and to write a body of work, that will require you to get and doing it, get to doing it, right, type of thing, right? So, destiny will require gut, but, fulfillment is very much you just dropping in and feeling that contentment. And, with the Taoists, when you have that contentment, you don't have to live 80 years to say, I'm whole. You come in here and people can die at 25 and they can experience that wholeness. They can die at 8 and experience that wholeness, right? So there really is no time, like, you have to live 80 years to experience wholeness, or that moment of fulfillment. It's really that sort of when you feel like you're really united with your heart and you really feel joyful in the heart energy. And that can come through, the beloved channel, which is true love channel, right? There's all kinds of poets on like the beloved channel and the ecstatic joy of, meeting the beloved and dancing with the beloved and drinking with the, fine wine with the beloved and all that kind of stuff. There's also a channel of the fulfillment coming through solitude, meditating, connecting your mind, balancing your mind. Contentment, fulfillment can come through, being a householder, being, having children, right? And the fulfillment of having children gives you contentment, I mean, there's so many different pathways that people choose that give them the same kind of thing, that heart feeling, that very being heartfelt, being soulful, right? It can come through great resilience. It can come through great pain and struggle, and the contentment, the fulfillment you have is, on your line, your dead bed, on your lying on your dead bed. That's not right. Lying in you're dying in your bed, right? And through some illness, and you've experienced much struggle with that illness, and there's this moment of, you have this great joy with your heart, like this great, like, I accept my heart, I accept God, I feel belonging with God, right? Then dying and you feel God abandoned you, you hate God, you have all this resentment towards him, like you blame him. That's discontentment, right? That's restless with yourself, right? So, all of these philosophies are working towards the contentment between human beings and their creation, and the past, and where they're at in their journey, knowing that this is not the end of the journey. Like, there's so many journeys that you go on. I mean, if we didn't have the sun, like, it sounds exhausting, all these journeys that we go on as human beings, right, from life to life. So the light language is basically, you can even create light language in a sacred, like, space, like what you do with, like, a lot of times temples, there's writing all across the walls, the outer walls, inner walls, all kind, Sanskrit. I mean, you could see the writing just everywhere, right, as a way to protect the space and to create a portal into higher dimensions. And you can do that. You can, get big, big boards, and you can just, put them, like, by your bed, your light language. You can put it by the windowsill. You can put it by the door for protection, or opening up, to love, or, opportunity, right? Doorways represent opportunity to grow and to transform, to go higher vibrations, lower vibrations. But light language is all about going into higher vibrations. Light language is light, right? So it's not language of dark energies that we associate with, like, curses and stuff. Light language has to do with your radiant body. It has to do with your creativity. It has to do with the Renaissance. And Renaissance is about the Atlantean age. It's about all the light ages on this planet we've had. and it's about the age of knowledge, the age of integrity, and the age of interstellar consciousness, which, the Star Wars, we can participate, the light versus the dark, and the wars, and the destruction of planets, and that kind of opposition, and that kind of experience. But the interstellar consciousness is more so, you travel from this planet to other planets, and you can connect with where you've been, and what, who these beings look like, and what kind of incarnations you've had prior to your most people spend at least, thousands of lives in this earth for a time being. I'd say individuals spend at least 30,000 years on planet Earth. Now that doesn't mean you're living for 30,000 years. It means that you're living in a planetary progression. You're living in one planetary progression, and you're having multiple incarnations within that one. You commit to a planetary progression. Again, you can go to other planets and stuff, but I feel pretty much a lot of people, they come to this planetary progression, and they pretty much, they go through many incarnations. Like, a lot of people have millions of incarnations before they can really tap into the light language of their authentic code, right? And a lot of beings, the thing about this going on right now with the Aquarian age is there's a lot of, because we're connecting with the Atlantean frequency again, which is technology, interstellar travel, interstellar consciousness, poetry, art, music, philosophy, integrity, that's really heightening within human beings like Atlantis. There's a lot of planetary beings out of this system, possibly out of this galaxy, that are coming to Earth, that were returning from Earth. I feel like they left during the Lemurian time, which was even before the Atlantean time. That Lemurian time was probably possibly 100,000 years before the Atlantean time, because there's this huge gap in time. The Lemurians were probably here even before the dinosaur time, like, we're talking way back. Maybe millions in what we're thinking of our time, because the whole continents of Lemuria is very different. Like the continents, we think of Pangaea and Atlantis is more, when we look at the sort of continental positions, Atlantis is the sort of region of Atlantis is very, the map of Atlantis, the continents in their position is very similar to what we see on the map today, except there was some continental shifts. But Lemuria, the whole entire continents of this earth was very different. Like North America, South America, Asia, India, like very, very different positioning, right? I feel like Lemuria in many ways is Antarctica, and I feel like Antarctica was actually in a position, maybe a position where South America is, in that kind of we call longitude, latitude, kind of towards, sort of in that region, right? In the Pacific Sea, we think of the Pacific Sea in that kind of longitude, latitude of South America. And that would mean that major changes to the the axis of the planet had to be for that to happen. But there is some sort of understanding of Antarctica, some old, I think 15th century, 14th century, I'm not sure which, 14th or 15th, where there is some sort of map made by an explorer, where Antarctica is actually in a completely different position than it is now. And Antarctica is depicted as having mountains, having rivers, and there's no way that these explorers were able to map out Antarctica in the rivers and the mountains, because it's all snow, it's all ice right now, right? So it shows that there was some kind of knowledge about Antarctica and the past, about Lemuria being the continent. And Lemuria also had pyramids, same as Atlantis, had monolithic structures, same as, think of Stonehenge, and think of all of these regions on this planet of sort of cosmic windows, cosmic portals, cosmic maps, evolutionary sort of astrology blueprints, right? Connecting to progressions of time and space and the soul and the journey of the soul and all that kind of stuff, right? But when we're looking at light language, it's a way for you to open that up within you, because every human being, I believe, can channel these memories. It's just a matter of fact of letting go of your judgment, trusting your intuition 100%. And that is how we're able to unlock these wisdoms, right? And your light language may reveal to you what kind of wisdom holder you are. Like for me, I have a strong Gemini energy. So, I'm more of the meditator type. I'm more of like, I receive information constantly, right? Information similar. That's why I'm drawn to like Nikola Tesla, because he had a similar type of vessel for holding a lot of information that most people's brains are just fried by all that kind of information, right? But you may be more into sort of holding space, a space holder. You could be, a medicine woman where you work with just the plants. You could be an animal person where you have an animal healing quality, or therapy for animals, a sort of intuitive connection with animals. It could be with children, right? It could be a midwife, doula type of energy, right? As what you've done in previous incarnations, right? So light language is about you connecting with your medicine. It's about you connecting with your gift as a medicine worker, right? As a healer, which every single human being is just a matter of fact of cleaning out the pipeline, clearing out the judgment, and really trusting your intuition, your instinct. Because in our society, since we've gotten uprooted from nature in many ways, our intuition and our instinct has kind of in many ways is underdeveloped, because we're not as connected as we are to nature because of our technology, right? So in the past, it's like you had to be connected to the sun, the moon. You would have to be connected to your land. You would have to know about the plants and the animals in your region. You would have to know about seasons. But now it's like we know it. Like you look at a clock, or because we're told, oh, this is the moon in Aries. But back in the day, like with the tribal times, like there was no like phone. You get a message on your phone that says, oh, full moon Aries. Like you would have to figure that out. You would have to feel into that. You would have to use your instincts. And usually how you knew, oh, this planet, there's astrology kind of going on in the very early times of astrology, is through your sensitivity and your sensations of it, how you were able to really connect the dots. Because if you really become intuitive in instinctual, like you can just feel planet Mars. You don't even need to like look it up. You're like, there's a Mars energy, I'm feeling Jupiter energy, I'm feeling a Pluto energy, I'm feeling this sort of conjunction, or I'm feeling this sort of square within it. So you could feel it, right? And then you could look up in the sky and through astrology, because it's all about it's stargazing. That's what astrology originally was, stargazing. And then you can see those positions, you can see how it's affecting you, and then you start to, okay, this planet is very hot, this planet is very dreamy, this planet has a darkness to it, right? And that's all through the sensations within your body. So when you're stargazing in ancient Egypt, we already have the knowledge of astrology from ETs, but how you're able to really understand that through your own experience with stargazing, and you could see, not necessarily see Pluto, but you could sense it, right? You could just sense it. You could even meditate, and literally your consciousness will go there, and you're like, ooh, Pluto has a darkness to it. I can feel it. Ooh, Jupiter, very expansive, very ambitious. Ooh, Uranus, something very, scientific, a lot of discovery. You could just feel it. And that's what light language is it's like stargazing. You're trying to feel into creation rather than, and that's what, the path of shaman in any sort of, if you're a wisdom holder, if you're, just medicine man, medicine woman, if you're into evolution, which is about holding, knowledge on progressions of time and space, and, Atlantis, Lemuria, these type of these type of civilizations, the light language is a way for you to, you feel into it. You first feel into it. You feel into yourself. That's the practice that you must pass. You to feel into it. Feel into yourself. Trust into what you're feeling. And then after you really develop that feeling body, then you start to learn how to articulate it, which is about standing up for yourself, being a warrior, having a voice, and not being afraid of your voice, not being intimidated, uncomfortable by the voice that you have, right? That's where you're talking about your personal power. But first, you have to feel into it. You have to feel your instinct, your intuition. Like, in the times, like, like animals, like, we would feel, oh, there's a natural disaster coming. We need to flee. Like, we need to leave this area. And we would do it, right? Or we would feel like, the regions where there's great floods. And even when colonists came here, they would literally build right in great flood areas because they were not listening to intuition. And then, centuries later, there's a great disaster in that area, great flood, and they're just like, let's just try to block off the rivers or something like that, right? But natives understood it's not about blocking off the rivers and try to stop the flooding. It's just that area moved to a different area, right? So they had a relationship with nature. They weren't trying to control nature. Let's just block off all the rivers and, completely dry up the ecosystem, right? And change the ecosystem for our behalf, for our desire, and completely push out all the animals that, were in that ecosystem but no longer can live in that ecosystem because they're not getting the balance within the ecosystem they had before because the rivers are blocked off, right? So, the natives understood this, the power of being intuitive and instinctual. Even today, like, when you have these skills, it not only makes you a survivor when you know how to grow your own food, and you also know about the moon phases, the sun. You also know about like prophecies in the future, and you know how to work with the land, cultivating the land. It also gives you a gift of knowing creation. And that's a shaman. The shaman is just knowing of creation, how to direct it and how to interpret its messages, its codes, and also how to connect people, right? Connect people to their authentic code, to their creation. So a lot of people, in this pipeline, there could be all kinds of downloads coming in, but there could be resistance. A lot of people spit it back out. They get the downloads, the light language, and they spit it back out because the judgment. They reject it. They resist it. They kind of block it in the pipe, right? And that could be due to their own sort of that could be due to their own sort of misunderstanding with their own instinct and intuition, their distrust in it. Okay, so we're going to work on that light language. We're going to do a sort of shorter Kriya, and then we'll get right in. Okay, so you can just come to you as symbols. It can come to you as little pictures of like geometry, something, right? Usually Nikola Tesla's, Da Vinci, their sketches are usually just kind of seemingly just geometry that is kind of elusive. It's kind of like, not sure what this is, right? And then you'll open up to it and just let it flow through you. And you're working on the interstellar consciousness, like I said, so that you can really start to develop a relationship with creation and with creativity, with the earth and with the stars that actually, it brings you an ability to manifest. So you're no longer like, bound to whatever is going on this planet, feeling controlled and manipulated and tied up, and you're no longer feeling like just bound to whatever limitations or restrictions are here. You actually feel like you can create a lineage or create generations of of breakthrough, of a renaissance that is through your own breath of fire, through your own birth canal, through your own life force. You have the power to do that. But it requires a certain connection to the universe, a certain connection to the land, a certain connection to generations, certain connections to the knowledge of, planetary progressions, and what age we're in, and what is this age about, the past, what is the major thing that we need to heal. You need to have an awareness of that, right? Like the future is about integrity. That's the kind of life lesson. The past was about domination, submission, right? It's about surrendering to the Godhead, and not really asking questions, not using critical thought, right? So and the trauma of that is, when we think of the Holocaust, when we think of all kinds of genocide, is like, we're like headless people going into things of great karma, having no idea what we're doing, and just doing it because we're surrendering to the Godhead and we're not using our brains, right? So, okay. So the future of the Aquarian age is about the integrity. It's about actually critical thought, exposing things that are manipulating and, domination, submission, so that, our creation on this earth and the creativity of this earth with the technology is supporting a, we call the positive karma on this planet, the good fortune type of karma, right? So bring your hands together, rub them together, hands together, and place them here at the heart. Inhale, exhale. Spine is tall, shoulders rolled back and down, tucking the chin slightly. Inhale to begin the mantra we always use to tune in, which is Ang, Onji, Namo Gurudev Namo. Inhale. Ang Namo Gurudev Namo. Ang Namo Gurudev Namo. Ang Namo Gurudev Namo. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, hold the breath. Feel the sound moving through your body, helping you to get in touch with your body. Exhale. Now, we're going to inhale and we're going to do our protection mantra as we visualize 4 pillars of light around us. And we're going to imagine a royal blue flame, spinning it clockwise around us with each sound, seeing it move right, left, right, to the right of us, behind us, to the left, ahead of us, spinning it very, very fast. And imagine we're seated in a royal blue bush of God. So inhale to begin. Adgarename, Jagadgarename, Sadgarename, Siddhi Gurudev Ename. Adgarename, Jagadgarename, Sadgarename, Siddhi Gurudev Ename. Adgarename, Jagadgarename, Sadgarename, Siddhi Gurudev Ename. Inhale, hold the breath, press the tongue on the roof of the mouth, squeeze up and in. Activate the chakras through your imagination. Exhale. So just doing that, you can feel the dropping in. You're plugging into your body, which, we need to be plugged into the earth, of course, right? We need to be rooted. We need to know how to cultivate the land, right? You cannot stargaze and go out to deep space if you don't have an understanding of how this earth works. We'll not understand how to cultivate Pleiades planet if we don't even know how to cultivate this own land, because Pleiades and Arcturus or these other planets, they have their own matrix, and it going to Pleiades is not you're out of the matrix, right? The matrix is the limitation. It's a restriction. It's resistance that can have heavy judgment, not as much judgment, shame, feelings not being good enough. I mean, the human condition has all of its kinds of rabbit holes that bring us out of our creation and bring us deeper into whatever agenda that is a break in the cord, the sort of atonement we have with our natural flow, right? So, every planet, has a matrix. There's always a matrix system that you have to deal with. So, learning it here in this earth, in the density of the matrix, will help you on other planets, because some planets might even be thicker. The matrix might even be deeper in work slave society. You know, other planets may not be as much, be more liberated, like Pleiades. But you work it out here so that you can work it out there, right? So you need to see this ground as not a go to Pleiades and that's less matrix. You need to see it could be, it's not more matrix, restriction, limitation, but still you're going to have to deal with a sort of resistance within yourself when it comes to that place or that planet. So we're going to do cat-cow. So inhale through the nose and then exhale through the nose. And we're listening to Adi Shakti, which is very empowering for connecting with your authentic code and liberating yourself in the embodying of this sort of renaissance, like death and rebirth, that is the sort of birthing ground for the Taoist philosophy, the Buddhist philosophy, and all these many other philosophies. It's that frequency is in this Adi Shakti. So just opening up the energy. Inhale, stick the butt up, open the throat, press the tongue on the roof of the mouth, squeeze sex organ, rectum, navel, belly button, spine, really squeeze. Exhale, round the back, squeeze. Press the pelvic area forward and up. Squeeze the, activate the lower abdominal. And then inhale, exhale through the nose as you bring your hands into prayer above your head, your forehead to the earth, and in child's pose, and just really feel connected to the Mother Gaia, the sort of subtle realm where our intuition and our instincts flourish, and where we happen to be at the right time, the right place, where we are really intuitively led, where we have this sort of spiritual protection that natives have, shamans have, that, you know, it also creates this very profound auric field that is very, very, can shield out any energy that may be very, very like powerful at trying to project, penetrate into you, right? Such as these lower vibrational annoyances, I like to say. Okay, inhale, exhale, and then come up, and we'll begin our Kriya. For basically, this Kriya is just to help you get in touch with the light language within you, okay? The authentic code, and it's really about awakening the body, right? And sometimes HIIT workouts, you know, exercise, and, you know, hitting the gym, not necessarily awakens the body in the way that we're awakening the 10 bodies, not just, you know, again, the, you know, focusing on I'm losing weight type of mantra. We're focusing on a little bit deeper of a mantra, which is about creating a character, right? Which is creating a sort of liberty within yourself, right? A lot of people, when they do the, you know, they hit the gym, they're not really focusing on the liberty of their soul. They're kind of focused on, you know, how do I get this attractive man to stay with me, right? So we're sitting on our knees, and you can put a blanket underneath you, and then we're just gonna bring the knees together and just have the hands beside the knees, and then bring them to the ground, the forearms, kind of bringing them out like a sphinx, and just feel it. Just breathe long and deep, and just feel just the natural opening. And you're opening up your neck. Listening to the mantra, allowing it to penetrate into the psyche, to rewire the subconscious. And you want to have your arms about shoulder width apart, okay? And just feel your belly hugging your thighs. This is a posture to help you to really alleviate the stress we're holding in the subconscious. So when you do these postures, you might feel a certain way. You might actually feel like pressure or stress, something build up within you. Just breathe into it and know that you're sort of moving things, you're maneuvering things through you, kind of releasing it out. In order for it to come out, it has to come to the surface. So a lot of times we can feel nauseous, We can feel a little achy, queasy. It's all indications of the stuff that's buried in us is coming out, which is wonderful. So even subconsciously, when stuff is coming up, you may feel agitated. You may feel kind of this annoyance, right? Where you're feeling triggered or bothers you. It's because it's coming out, and it needs to come out because it's hidden in you, and it wants to come out. So you can experience more of a space of creativity. Okay, inhale. Hold the breath, really squeeze up. Press the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Exhale. And then you're just going to bring your legs right out in front of you and reaching for the toes. And I like to put a blanket underneath my bottom so that I can elevate myself. So it's a thicker blanket, so it's not really thin. And I'm going to elevate myself, my spine, so I'm on a downward slope, which actually when you do it, it feels really easier to fold over the legs, but also it makes you it opens up the back a lot more. So you're just going to reach the legs. So this might feel really good, especially after sitting on your knees. You may feel somewhat tingling in the ankles and the calf. And just kind of reaching. And then why we kind of look past our toes, I mean, you can close your eyes and kind of visualize looking past your toes, is because it really focuses on the heart reaching. Helps you focus on the fold. Well, sometimes when we bring our head down, we just do this, right? Which is more focusing on really stretching the upper back when we're creating that kind of rounding of the back. This more focuses on the fold of the hip, right? The folding over yourself. So even if you're not like going down like this, that's okay, right? Because we just want to focus on the fold of the hips. And if you can just grab your knees, that's fine. Just work with whatever you got going for you. All it is important that you're showing up and you're allowing these frequencies to move into the body. That makes all the difference. Just allowing the frequencies to move, and just by being here, you're saying, I am available to these frequencies that are there, and I want to bring them into my body now. So just breathe in and out. Looking past your toes. And you really want to also allow the shoulders to drop. You definitely don't want to be doing this, right? You want to like kind of relax it. Kind of can roll it a little bit back and around, kind of loosen it up. And sometimes I like to even move. You can even move your sort of feet, moving your sort of bottom, just to kind of loosen it up. So just do whatever it is. If you need to kind of wiggle it, shake it, it's because you're feeling you're releasing a tension, right? Do that. Shake it off. Okay, and then inhale. Exhale, fold over now. As best as you can. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And then come up. Okay, so just feel that, something opening up. And then we're going to work with that kind of hip area, which directly works with the birth canal for both men and women. But women, we gotta definitely have, we are the birth canal in many ways, and it's all within the hip region. So your right leg's forward and sort of bent, right? And you kind of look and you see a 90 degree in the fold of the knee, right, from the calf in contact with the inner leg. And then you look back and you kind of see the same thing, like a 90 degree angle, right? So listening to this mantra, so you're going to try to sit as tall as possible without like slouching over, right? It's tall spine. You want to feel like you're sort of in a, even though you're seated and you want to come over the right leg more, just really feel like your weight on both sides of the body. And then what you're going to do is you're going to begin to twist like this. And it's interesting twist because you're not inhaling to the left, exhaling to the right. You're really inhaling very deep and then exhaling very deep. Just holding the hands right here, like almost shoulder width apart. And just have your hands like wide, like antennas. Okay, inhale, exhale. Now switch legs. So you're gonna have the left in front of you and then the right leg behind you. You're still creating this 90 degree with the fold of the leg. And then gonna feel that you're nice and comfortable. Now again, you may feel like, whoa, this is like whoa. So then we're gonna begin again. So inhale long and deep. Exhale long and deep as you're twisting while holding your arms here at a sort of shoulder width apart here in front of the heart. You're twisting the lower spine all the way up into the upper spine. Okay, inhale, straight spine. Exhale. And then we're going to come standing and folding over the legs with the feet in a wide V or first position if we're in ballet, right? So the heels together. And what we're going to do is we're just going to interlace the fingers at the ankles behind, towards the heel, and then you're going to bend the knees, and then you're going to come all the way down, bend the knees as much as possible without lifting the heels up. And just breathe long and deep. And let the arms just fall over. Let the arms hang. Stick the butt out. Feel the belly folding over the legs. Feel the knees going out, the toes going out. And just really bend as much as you can. If you need to kind of straighten up, if it's too much, just go back into it. Use your breath to help you strengthen yourself. Okay, inhale. Exhale. Now, we're going to bring your blanket. I'm going to put our heels. So fold up your blanket. So fold it up. Okay. So that you're going to put your heels on it. So you're on a downward slope, feet about hip width apart. Okay, so you're feeling it in the hips, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to bend the knees. Try to you want to have enough pillow or blanket where you're still keeping your heels on the blanket, so you're not coming onto the balls of the feet. And what you're going to do is grab the elbows, and then just kind of, you want to experience the armpit going into the knee, and then just fold over. And just breathe into this posture. Breathe in and out very deeply, and focus, look towards the navel behind you. You're going to feel it in your ankle. You're going to feel it in your back. Definitely going to feel in the knees, the bend, the fold of the hips as well. We're doing all these postures because in many ways we're lubricating the joints. The main joint is the hips, and really letting the energy flow by really allowing the body to feel massaged. Also, you can feel the balls of the feet, feel the soles of the feet, definitely activating the meridians in the feet. Okay, inhale, exhale, and then just straighten the legs, bring the legs out. You can bring your blanket away from you. And then what you're going to do is you have your hands on the ground, and you're just going to lift up and then down and then reach back. So I'm jumping straight up, and then I kind of push myself back See it? So come straight up, then push back. And just breathe long and deep. Okay, inhale, exhale, come down onto your knees. Take a moment to rest, recuperate. So you can feel the hips. Just breathe long and deep. So now we're gonna come back and we're going to stand, but we're gonna cross right foot over left. Interlacing the fingers behind you, pulling it up. Stabilize. Use the breath. Try to look towards your navel. Okay, inhale. Exhale, bring the hands down. Now bring left over right. Can you feel it in the hips, crossing? You want to have both heels, both balls of the feet on the ground. And then interlace the fingers and stretch. Inhale, exhale, bring the hands down, come seated onto your bottom. You can have your pillow, blanket, or folded blanket underneath you. Just feel the spine, feel the hips, feel this movement moving through you. Feel how you're becoming more available to movement within the physical and subtle bodies. So now we're going to open up the legs and then have our hands behind us. And then just drop the head back and just relax. Breathe in and out through the nose and just be in this posture, sort of just opening everything up and just relaxing into the breath. So when you're back, you want to focus on not your heart sinking into your shoulders. You want to feel as though your heart is being pulled up, right? Rather than sinking, heart is being pulled up, up. So you're focusing on the heart is opening everything up, right? So we did a forward bend. So about getting over the past, right? What is behind you when you look in between your legs is the past. When you open everything up, you're looking towards the future, towards your potential that's in this moment now. And when you put your tongue on the roof of the mouth, it seems very subtle, but you're creating an activation. So you can hold it, the posture, and just breathe long and deep without the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And you could feel, you feel something, but when you put the tongue on the roof of the mouth, you can actually feel a difference subtly, right? Okay. Inhale. Hold the breath, squeeze up and really open the heart. Exhale. Inhale. Press the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Squeeze up, focus on the heart. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And just come up. Feel the difference. And then keeping your legs in a wide V, what you're going to do is you're going to reverently gather your left foot, bring it in towards inside the right leg. Then you're going to reach the right arm up. You're going to grab the sort of forearm, right, just above the knee. And then you're going to pull towards the left knee. And just breathe long and deep. And then you kind of look up if you can, past the armpit, almost putting the chin into the armpit. that really creates a sort of back bend. So you're opening up rather than just going straight out. You're doing a slight back bend to open it up. And then come back in. Lower the arms, open it, and then bring the right knee reverently inside the leg, honoring your hip, honoring your knee. Bring the left arm up, grab the forearm just above the elbow, and then bring it over. And then just bring the chin towards the armpit and looking up, creating a slight back bend. And you don't want to lose your balance. So you're not falling, you shouldn't feel like you're falling. And then when you really feel that sort of back bend, that sort of opening of the armpit, where you may even feel like it itches, the armpit, right? Because you're really opening it up. And the side body is also good for the breasts. And then you bring the hands down and then switch. Just breathing long and deep. You want to feel as though you're not forcefully, but you're gently creating a resistance, a pull. As your left arm's pulling down and or out, and your right body's kind of reaching up. And we're practicing on the sensations of the body. So getting in touch with the sensations of the body, which helps us to become more intuitive, more instinctual and connected. So I can feel it in my back, my rib cage, my armpit. I can feel it all the way to my leg, my hip going down. So creating a slight back bend as your chin reaches your armpit, you're looking up. You feel it also in the neck as you're equalizing the neck, the right and left sides of the body. We're really releasing any sort of that held in tension that's burrowed inside of us. And as you're doing it, you're not just holding it, you also want to solve it. It's like you're solving a puzzle. So it's not just, get in the posture and hold. You also want to breathe and work into it. See how you can get deeper into it. And you're not allowing your arm to just sink on top of your head. You want to keep the arm still up so that you can pull and stretch at the same time. And just do one more on the side. Okay, inhale, exhale. And then just bring both legs back out. You could feel it in the neck and the spine as things are equalizing between both sides of the body. And then what you want to do is you can kind of fold over a little bit, grabbing the shins towards the ankles, but we're not going to do a deep sort of folding, okay? And then what we want to do is just pump the heart. So inhale forward, exhale back. So opening the front of the heart and then opening the back of the heart. So you're not so much focused on the stretching forward and the folding of the hips. You're more so focused on the opening of the heart, the front and the back. Because how we're able to hold higher information is really not in the brain, it's in the heart. The holding of higher information, we store it, we think we store it in the brain, but it's really we store it in the heart. Because the heart has its own sort of information, its own storage system. Like the heart stores memories of the past. The heart stores memories of heartache, childhood, pain, grievances, past life memories. It's all stored in the magnetic field of the heart. So when you do this, you may even feel like a little bit, what is that feeling? Like, it kind of hurts, right? Because you're creating a fire. You're opening it up. So the back of the heart has to do with the past, has to do with the memories, the things, we keep close to us, but we don't look at, right? What's in the front of the heart is your potential. It usually has to do with your feelings of enthusiasm, about your future. You feel charismatic and brave, right? So when you walk into a room, you walk in with your heart, your chest open, right? And when we do back bends is so that we can really allow ourselves to get over the past, so that we don't hunch over like Frumpty Dumpty, right? With all these burdens of the past. We want to feel the back is very loose and limber, right? We're not carrying the emotional baggage, right? We're working through it. We're letting it go, right? We're making peace with it. We're, completing those soul contracts, completing those life lessons and moving on, right? You can't move forward if we're carrying so much of the past, right? The carrying of the past creates a sort of fog in the window, right? And then we can't see where we're going, and then we're confused. And then we start to see all these ghosts, right? As we're moving forward and looking out our window, it's kind of smoky and we see kind of ghosts and we're distracted by those ghosts, right? We see those ghosts and we resolve them. So just keep going. We understand that, these memories are there to help us complete our lives, not there to remind us of our pain, but to help us move deeper into our forgiveness or compassion. Because sometimes we think we're over a memory, but then it keeps coming up and we keep feeling bound and trapped to it, imprisoned by it. But really, it's the judgment that's what we're being educated on. The judgment is why we are terrified and quite overwhelmed. But when we start to breathe into it, as we're doing now, we're starting to develop a relationship with it that is more steady, more relaxed, more calmer, a state of forgiveness, mending. So when I released my sexual trauma out of my chakra system, mind, body, and the heart, I did almost a whole year of just thyroid exercises. And the thyroid exercises, because it's about flushing the system, I was able to flush out a lot of these emotional baggage, memories, things I was told, attachments. I was able to release that. It was very painful, right? Because I felt very attached to it and I felt a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. But the consistent thyroid work helped me to flush it out and to basically let go of the ghost, right? The ghost of this relationship. And feel free. Okay, so inhale, exhale. Now come seated. And then we're going to do a meditation for opening up the arc line, which is what we want to do. We're gonna work with this particular frequency. You can feel when you do that heart activation, it's like, whoa, you can feel it, like the tingling and the heat. Not only the heat, it feels like pressure on the heart, right? Okay, so we're working with this mantra, God and me are one. So kind of like what I showed you earlier, we're gonna hold it here. You're kind of pressing the heart wide open. You have your fingers wide like antennas, your thumb out and towards the earlobe, and then the lower earlobe, and then just kind of out, and then you're gonna reach into this triangle above the head. So like this, sort of here, and then here. So when you get to one, you want to kind of be up here, right? So God and me and God are one. 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 So touching the thumb, index finger. God and me and God are one. Straight spine, tuck in the chin slightly. Me and God are one. God and 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 me and God are one. So you want to connect to your arc line. So when I hold my hands out, I can feel it in the arc line. And then connect to the 10th gate, the Sachak record. God and me and God are one. 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 God and me the heart. God and me and God are one. And just go slightly forward and back. God and me and God are one. 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 Now just hold your heart. God and me and God are one. Right hand over left. God and me and God are one. 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 Inhale. Hold the breath, press the tongue on the roof of the mouth, and mentally recite, activate the God within me. Exhale. Inhale, hold the breath, mentally recite, activate the God within me. Exhale. One last time, mentally activate the God within me. Press the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Exhale. Now just get your journal and just journal out, or not journal, create the light language. They give it like calligraphy. And just see what you get when you're doing this. Like when I did something, I felt Zeta. I heard Zeta in my head. Like Zeta as in a star system. You just like, it's kind of like you just see it in your head. Almost like you're looking at something. Remember, this light language is more than just a language. It's sort of symbolic code meant to kind of put you in this, help you to receive a download about your own creativity, your own journey through the universe. So this is what I have thus far. So when I see it, when I'm interpreting this, I see come into Earth to share teachings from another planet, to help initiate human beings into their sovereignty, into their founding leadership. Generously offering teachings to potentiate breaking through of resistance and illusions that cut off humans from the spiral of energy. Teaching of union as a practice of sensual delight, as a method of joy and trust in another. And then I kind of feel symbols from the age of Christ. Some kind of feelings of the Cabal, working with the Merkaba of divinity, the Holy Spirit connection, Jewish descent, something about Jewish descents. A sort of bloodline that comes as original renaissance of Earth, original gods before the era of ownership and needing to own a god, to possess, to make the superior. There was a god that was of a Jewish, ancient Egyptian connection. And as you do it and you listen, you can actually feel it in the pituitary gland. I can feel the secretion of my pituitary gland, which is the pituitary gland secretion, an indication of creative energy moving through the chakras. Like sex is a secretion of the pituitary. It's a pituitary gland adjustment, which is about creativity. Sex is for creativity, right? It's an act, it's a creative gesture. You're wanting to tap into the creative energy within you. You're wanting to feel lively. You're wanting to feel potent. You want to feel sort of sublime energy. You want to feel you're connected to your masculine and feminine principles. You're manifesting something. The sexual energy is manifesting. So there's something about, for me, and what I'm reading is something about sexual magic of the Mary Magdalene times, lost teachings of deeper sexuality. Traveling to many planets, Sirius, seeing Sirius. Taurus star leads to original African bloodline. Seeing the fall of Atlantis as an agreement to help human beings release their need to possess. To have more than what they need. Have more technology than what is necessary or what is evolutionary ready. Seeing activation of 1,000 bloodlines who have shown strength during times of great indecision on the planet. Seeing the yearning of freedom in ancient Egypt, the yearning of freedom in Africa, that led to summoning of these liberators, leaders from Pleiades to help facilitate the reconstruction of masculine and feminine principles on planet Earth that were very imbalanced. So you just may get just channeled messages. Also seeing myself as working with the scrolls, ancient Egypt, as a priestess. And I see making peace with injustice. Making peace with injustice. So this is the light language I had thus far. And I'll take a photo of this because this absolutely is very difficult to read with this kind of light. But this is the light language. Do you see it? It's very, very symbolic. It has codes, it has symbols, it has messages, authentic codes. It's talking about all kinds of information. If you meditate upon it, it gives you kind of information about the universe. And this is what we did basically in the beginning of time, when we didn't have reading or writing, and all we had was basically our imagination. And our imagination would channel to us these truths that would be given to those who were wise enough, strong enough, and expanded enough to see beyond, see what is beyond, to look beyond the veil, right? To look into the shadows of the universe to find other planets, other systems, other galaxies, and would document this through their depictions of light. So this is a depiction of light, universal truths, universal knowledge of my soul, and how I've traveled through multiple dimensions, through time and space, and have served this planet, and how this planet has fed my soul, and how this planet has helped me, and how other planets have helped me to complete tasks and assignments in this life. So I'm going to meditate upon this, and I'll share this with you. Take a picture so you can meditate upon it as well, and hopefully you have opened up your own channel to the light within, the light code, the light activation, to your soul star, and to your own Sachic DNA, your pure interstellar DNA sequence. So we'll tune out with one last Sat and short Nam. So inhale. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. So bow to yourself, and thank you for joining me.